Okay, hi guys, Jeffrey William from GWA Architects, and we're presenting dynamic Drimnagh plans for Canal Village feasibility study. And we just have here a reference image to open the discussion, and it just shows a more accessible connection between one side of a canal and another side, where you'd have a stepped and ramped access, and a more user-friendly connection. So thinking about Drimnagh and Inchicore, how we could improve that connectivity between the two spaces. Um, so, and what I've identified here, we have some solutions on some areas along the canal itself to do a cycle track and vehicular access. But we've also identified these 6 character areas, which we'll look at individually. So Kilworth Road, Galtymore Connection, Sparran Road, Benbulben Road, Civic Buildings Centre Site, and Slieve-na-Mon Road. So it's just an introduction there. And so at the beginning of this document, this is the next draft of the document which we presented before, and it's developed on with additional resources and 3D imagery, and to communicate the ideas and solutions across. At the beginning, we've included now the research we've done before. Look at Davitt Road and Inchicore, Drimnagh, and there's a few interesting diagrams to discuss. But this brochure itself, we'll go through it quite quickly now and get to the main areas, the proposals. But the brochure can be read in more detail by anyone who would like a copy and go into more detail in these different areas. So can you see the map here between Inchicore and Drimnagh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the strategic development regeneration area, and Dublin City Council has identified these zones for development. And you can see again, they're quite close proximity to the road and things like that. So what we've just taken the next step ahead, and we've identified more public realm that's needed for Davitt Road to make it a potential village, and make it a place where people will want to go and spend time and feel safe as well, and not having traffic on top of them and things like that, So introduction of public plaza spaces is really good, and we've looked at a bit more of that. You can also see in our analysis of the regeneration zone is, these orange points here as areas where Dublin City Council has identified as a high area of the building, rather than the full building being high rise, certain sections of the building being high rise, which is good design, and it means there's not too much overshadowing in certain spaces. You can see the diagram here, yeah, just to check. It's a circular diagram, yeah. Yeah. So this is one of the analysis things, kind of behind the scenes analysis, and it's what makes a great place, and it identifies the attributes and qualities for successful public spaces. So there's a lot of things like bringing in different uses and different mixes of spaces that are needed in a public space. These diagrams here represent identifying a city and a region, identifying the destination, which would be Dublin, and then Davitt Road, Canal Village, and then identifying a place and what's really needed in that place. So we've identified any key area, making a place a pull to a place, a kind of gravitational pull to a place. It needs at least 10 different mix of uses. Now, that can be including a place to sit, a playground to enjoy, art, music, food to eat, history to an experience, and transport. A place for people to meet. So these are all things that Canal Village, Davitt Road has. We've got, such as we have transport, the major transport link with the Lewis. We have potential places for open plazas and improved public realm. We have potential for different boutique shops, a civic building, and cafes and things like this. And these are, and as well, there's the culture side. There's the old mills that are in the area. These can all be really made the most of, and give people a reason to come to that space. So that's just an aerial view there of the stretch from Sure Road to the Black Horse there, and some existing photos. And this is a diagram here. You can, yeah, just to check, you have that on the screen there. Yeah, it's the pink, orange, and blue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a 10-minute walk radius services. So we've identified, Inchicore area, Galtymore Road, and then Bulbin Road, and you can see the overlap of that's a kind of a computer-generated model of where somebody can travel within 10 minutes of those areas. So it shows it's a key. The common denominator is this canal village that would link those services all together, and would actually really benefit both Inchicore and Drimnagh by doing that. So I think it's interesting to see those things in diagram form. And then we have here is we've downloaded and uploaded according to Ordnance Survey Ireland. So we have highlighted what we want to do is use this as a way of analysis for between Inchicore and Drimnagh. So you can see the importance of this road here. It's the intersection between Inchicore, Drimnagh, Kilmainham, and Rialto. There's a lot of things happening here. So it wants to be something more than what it is at the moment. This analysis of the green spaces around the area, really important. This is analysis of the darker buildings here highlighted as a very low density residential developments, whereas the darker red ones are very high density residential development. So there's not a consistent development strategy there as yet today. So that's just worth identifying that potential for more density in areas. And just cycle tracks, and then Lewis and bus stops and things like that. So diagrams to kind of identify that. And as we say, it's a working document. So if a question comes up, we can flick to this page and we can have a discussion on those different things. This is identifying the different access roads and connections in the area. So you can see Davitt Road highlighted in the black there as the main focal point. And then you have Galtymore Road in the blue here, and Mourne Road in the green. So these are all important attributes that we have in Drimnagh that we can take most advantage of. So proposed solutions, existing plan here, and then proposed master plan overlay. So we'll just go and look at this a bit closer. And again, some reference images for the boardwalk kind of mooring points. And by introducing a boardwalk and a mooring deck, we can start to do different things like this, which would make people want to use that space a bit more, and connection down to the canal. And this could be located around the civic building and allow people to use the space. So these are diagrams that we're working on. Scenario 1, the canal village. So we brought it into a 3D model, and you can see here we have the deck, the boardwalk, which leads up, in a stepped approach and a ramped approach to a very user-friendly bridge that will cross over from Drimnagh to Inchicore. We then have highlighted in the orange area here is the current promenade, the shared space, and planters on either side of the Lewis, safe pedestrian crossing across these Lewis tracks. And to green it up, the Lewis tracks in other areas of Dublin City either have a cobble finish, or further on a lot of the time on the green line they have green the area off. So it's just a lot more user friendly, and just looks a lot better, so it just feels a bit unfinished as it is today. Then we've shown here the 2 lanes of traffic and the ideal solution, and then on-street parking, parallel parking, which is user friendly, and then setting aside some space here for trees, public realm, and then 2 lanes of bike lanes, 2 lanes in one in each direction for bikes going past. So it's the bike traffic is safely taken away from the road, and safely taken away from the on-street parking, so there's nothing crossing over that. And then what we've shown here is a boulevard, you know, potential future development here. The elevation is just a placeholder, which, you know, the space here, 5 meters wide, it allows recesses like this here for restaurants to open out and to use that space, you know. So it's all very user friendly, and this would be the ideal solution we could do all along. But and that's it again there in plan form. So just with some dimensions down the end here. So for anyone that would like to reference that, the deck boardwalk, the promenade, the Lewis. 7.5 meters is for 2 lanes of traffic. We don't actually have that at the moment. What's there at the moment is quite tight, and it's not compliant with needs of a 2-way system. But it's really, you know, this on-street parking, parallel parking, and this separate bike lane is a necessity for a space like this. This is a section cutting through that space again, showing the boardwalk, and potential barges can moor up against that. And this is really a framework for future developments that can work into. This is the scenario where the Davitt, if we assume this elevation is the Davitt building here, that area we discussed in the last presentation about making this area a one-way system, and it's really the only option along the Davitt Road and Sparran Road to Bunbulbin Road is to make that one stretch a one-way system, and that allows us to have these user-friendly pathway double cycle route planters, a one-way system, which also slows down traffic by a raised elevation of that area. But then utilizing Galtymore Road in a similar fashion, so taking away making that section of Galtymore Road along the Davitt building between Sparran and Bunbulbin Road, making that a one-way system, and giving back to the residents there some more public space. So what we have here, the residents have this is the houses here, the current 2-story houses, and you can imagine this is the Davitt building. What we have is making it a one-way system with ramps for slowing down traffic, and then trees for public realm, safe crossing, and then for visitors to the area, rather than having people park up on the path, we've got parallel parking here. So, you know, the residents have their own parking in the garden, but then visitors can come and park when they're visiting the residents there. So it would be an improvement for Galtymore Road. Here's a plan of that again. So the canal to the left here, and the one-way system along the Davitt Road, or the Davitt building along the canal, going into town. And then when we come over to Galtymore Road, you can see it's the Davitt building and on-street parking and a one-way system coming out into Sparran Road. So although we're bringing traffic onto Galtymore Road in that section, we're actually taking traffic away from it as well. It's almost like it's a way to deter that fast moving traffic on Davitt Road, which, you know, it's one straight road. Cars start on one end and they speed along, and, you know, we've had deaths on that road the past few years and beyond. And this is one strategy for, you know, when you make cars take a turn and they have to go around. So it's using Galtymore Road and Davitt Road together, which, you know, Davitt Road doesn't necessarily need to be such a fast moving road. It should be a suburban access road itself. And that's a section of that space again. And so character areas, we looked up there at Kilbert Road, just how the interaction there with the new bike track works. And this is some reference 3D images that are in progress at the moment of how that space could look, you know, looking over at the new, from across the canal. And introducing these, you know, it could be different types of seating along there that people could enjoy that space. And it doesn't have to be somewhere that you walk past, you could sit down and enjoy the space. And this is the connection to into Galtymore Road, from Galtymore Road shops through into a public plaza beyond, and then a connection with the canal again. And just some photos of what that public plaza space could look like, 3D renders. This is Sparran Road here, which is a cul-de-sac at the moment, and there's a Lewis stop there, and there's a a fuse board, a electrics board for the Lewis, which, currently there's not a sufficient turning circle at that space. It's not a sufficient landing space. It needs to be improved. What we're proposing to open that space up and create a connection, or a vehicular connection onto Davitt Road, which would alleviate traffic and also allow us to have this one-way system on either side of that development. So you can see from Sparran Road, you're coming along and it turns into a one-way system. And then Galtymore Road is a more narrow road with more public realm, but it's a one-way system also. This is some renders then from that space, showing the Galtymore Road of what it could look like. So I think this is successful, as in we have a generous pathway, we have ramped up crossing areas, we have planting, bike racks, and we have the on-street parking. So, and it's only a one-way system along Galtymore Road along that stretch. Now, the one-way system on Galtymore Road could work all the way along, which would alleviate parking on Galtymore shops as well. But we've only contained it to this area now to get everyone's feedback on that. And this is an image of the two-way cycling route along Davitt Road. So you can see the strategy is here to have your pathway with recessed areas, and the planters then will safeguard the cyclists from the vehicular road. And this is just where the Davitt building is, where it's pinched. We can't do anything about the development as it is today. It was built very close to the road edge, but this is a solution to improve it by making it a one-way system. And this is now looking at Benbulben Road. So what we're proposing, there's been a new, I know that there's been discussion about a plaza at Benbulben, at the top of Benbulben Road, a plaza that would welcome people to Drimnagh and would be a place where cafes from new developments that are happening from Conor McGregor side and above would open out onto this space, and it'd be a first impression of Drimnagh, public plaza cafes such as this opening out onto the space, which we had hoped would happen in the Davitt development, see more cafes and ground floor use. And you can see the cycle track then, how that becomes from the two-way system and then just slips in and becomes a one-way system here, yeah. And that's just another view from that plaza space at the top of Benbulben Road. And then we had looked at a civic building site. So it's a swap between the current Bosco building and potential for a new civic building to be enjoyed by all the community and different uses. And that would be located near the GAA club, the top of the Canal Village. And this is a part of the 3D model. So there is a 3D walkthrough which you could send on as well. But part of the 3D the model is, these drop down spaces that people can enjoy and sit out, and they're south facing, so they'll be nice spaces to look at. And then the last character area here is on Sleevemon Road. It just identified that we just need to pull that back, the public realm, give more space for the pathway out there and improve that that corner. So there's an image here of how that corner could really improve by pulling the fence back a certain amount and giving more to that public realm. And again, the continuous planters between the traffic and the bike routes and the pathway. Again, it's a corner there's a lot of by doing these things, you're giving people more awareness of crossing roads and more visual time to look around. And then we moved into case studies, from different sites and different successful projects similar to this, which we can look at in more detail again. These are diagrams that we're working on in the background. There's kind of a height study of developments in the area, and you can see Canal, you can see granted applications and the Davitt site there and things like that. So that's something that we can keep track of as we progress. as planning applications get granted, or we can feed into that model. And we had looked at this before, event examples in Drimnagh. And then we have a schedule here of planning updates that we'll keep live and keep active. Okay, so that is that's just a progress update on where we're at. Really, from the last meeting, we said we would look at this proposed solution for the one-way system, because at the moment, you know, the Davitt building is, as I said, it's built right up close to the pathway. To achieve our 2 cycle routes and user-friendly vehicular road there, it really, we're leaning towards a one-way system in that section. And because the building is built, it's done, but also has up as Sparring Road, there's a similar situation with the apartments at that area. So this allows us to improve Galtymore Road and that stretch of beside the Davitt building out in one go. So yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stop the recording here. Okay, so that
Yeah.
we have this send on to others.